What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Franchise Empire newsletter, where we dive into some interesting franchise opportunities and break down what's going on in the world of franchising. So today we were going to cover a resale with $250,000 of cash flow, according to the seller. We're going to talk about Wingstop. We'll talk about how much money they make, how much they cost to get open, why Rick Ross owns some of them, if you guys know Rick Ross, and how many he owns. And we'll talk about a couple of other things as well. So let me play what I have to play for you guys, and then we'll jump right in. Sweet. All right. If you're new here, my name is Tark Johnson. I'm the CEO and founder of Franchise Empire, and I'm here with our head of brokerage, Mr. Mark Magerman. Mark, thanks for joining.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me, Tark.
As always. All right, guys, let's dive into it. So
that picture you just scroll by the way, is a pretty impressive photo. Handsome people in that photo.
That is a good looking photo, isn't it?
That's the Franchise Empire team, if ever there was one.
Yeah, it's solid. We're missing some people, but those were everyone that we could rally in Orlando, and I think the picture came out fantastic.
That's the group of people who get a desk on an apple on their desk every day for being teachers' pets because they showed up.
That's funny. All right, so we're gonna dive into this resale. By the way, if you guys, we send out this newsletter, this whole thing. We don't cover all of it here. But we send it out to people via email Sunday mornings at 8:30 a.m. Eastern, or 8 a.m. We send it out at 8 a.m. So you can see the link scrolling at the bottom of the screen. You can go to that, franchiseempire.com/newsletter, so that you can get that email every Sunday morning, and you don't have to wait for us to do this here on Monday, which I feel like at some point, Mark, we may want to change. Mondays are getting aggressive for me. Anyways, we can talk about that offline. Okay, this resale, we don't have the most amount of data on it because you've seen other resales us list other descriptors about the business. Here's what we know. It's a home services business. It's in Reno, Nevada area. The asking price is $795,000. The rolling 12-month revenue is $3.7 million. The rolling 12-month cash flow is $250,000. So it looks like they overall lower margins, but hey, if you're pulling in 3.7, I guess you can still make a good living. But I would imagine maybe some opportunity to improve those margins. Our overall quick take. Well, Mark, what's your take on that? First glance.
You're looking at 3.7 million revenue with 250 cash flow, and you're jumping to that's less than 10% margin. So that's the first thing that I would jump out at. Yeah, the home services model tends to skew higher in profit margin. So my first reaction is I question the operational acumen of this group. Again, that may not be fair, but it's a low margin for that much sales in a home services business. That's the first thing I see.
Yeah, that was exactly what popped up in my head too. Which again, to Mark's point, it could be a good thing. If you buy a business that everything is running perfectly, that is almost a little bit more concerning, right? Because then it's easier to go downhill than uphill from that point.
Well, to be honest with you, there's no place to go but down in a situation like that. So you're absolutely right that there's advantages to coming in with a business that's somewhat fractured that you can fix and grow. I could not agree with that more. The question is how fractured and how much is it going to take to fix it. But A and B, if the 3.7 million had a cash flow of $370,000 or $750,000, you can bet your bottom line that the asking price is going to be a lot higher, right? So it's all relative, but it's kind of like, what they say when somebody, you don't want to ever follow somebody that was fantastic. You'd rather follow somebody that was a little bit subpar because it makes more room to grow. So again, a couple of things that just that beg questions on this resale.
Yep, 100%. Yeah, and to Mark's point, guys, even if it's showing low margins, what matters the most is the multiple of the sales price. So overall, I mean, they're showing it at basically a 3.2x, which is pretty reasonable. So yeah.
You could also bet, Tarek, that the seller wishes that asking price was a lot higher. So they're probably saying this is what we can justify off the sales and off the cash flow. So that part of it, I would say it looks like they're thumbs up on that because that's in the ballpark to what it should be based on where they are.
Yeah,
seems to be fairly
spot
priced.
on. Spot on. So our take that we put in the newsletter, you only get this extra commentary by diving in live, which is why even if you start getting the newsletter, you still want to watch these because we go above and beyond in our commentary, which is why we do these. And that was the original idea behind doing these, is bringing, I don't know anyone else. There's tons of people that do newsletters. I don't know anyone else that actually makes a video and like live streams it to talk through it and add more value. But our take, we don't show you the name of the brand here for confidentiality purposes, but it's a very proven, long-standing brand with a great track record. This is for an owner-operator, not someone looking for an absentee business. So if you're like, yeah, I want to buy it and I want to work 10 hours a week, you are not the right fit. This is for someone who says, I want to buy it and I want to spend the next 12 to 24 months rolling up my sleeves and seeing what improvements I can make to this business and how I can master learning this business. And then, Mark, I put the last point in there for you. So if you want to hit on that and why it's so important, because I know that's one of the ones that you always bring up around resales.
Yeah, I feel like I'm sound like a broken record or a wet blanket because I'm always saying this, but again, investing in a resale business is a lot more challenging than investing in a non-resale franchise opportunity. Because first of all, people think it's very attractive. So there's a lot of competition for one opportunity here. And if you really are interested in this and you're really following what Tarek was just saying about what the role is here and what your acumen is here and how you really think this is for you, do yourself a favor, make sure you have 10 or 20% down, which we go back to what was the asking price?
$795.
$795, right? So call that 800, meaning you need about 160 grand. If you don't have $160,000 of your own money to put into it, this is not for you. Don't waste your time or anybody else's time. If you do have it, do yourself a favor, go to a lender, get yourself pre-approved for the purchase price of $795. Then you got a lot of bullets in your gun to really make a run at this business. Without it, you're not going to even get a call back, I promise you. So you're kidding yourself if you think you're going to end up here, and you're really just wasting everybody's time. So just do it right.
Yeah. And I would say to add to that, if interest rates were lower, which we know that the Fed's lowering interest rates, but it's not going to have any significant impact on SBA loan rates until the Fed funds rate comes down a lot lower. But if you could get an SBA loan for 6% right now, you'd probably be able to get away more with putting 10% down. But with where interest rates are and the cost of the debt service, meaning your payment on your SBA loan, if that's the way you would go, really, in order for it to make financial sense, you definitely would probably need to be closer on putting that 20% down.
Yeah, and a good lender will guide you as well to what's the best way to go about it. So again, just if so many people I've seen, Tarek, and you and I talk about it all the time, I know you have as well, they see something like this, it's like instead of ready, aim, fire, it's ready, fire, aim, right? So it's like, oh, here it is, let's jump on it, let's get in touch with these people, we really want this business. And the people who are selling this business, and in many cases, when a franchisee is selling their business, it's still a model that that the buyer is going to have to become a franchisee. So the franchisor is very involved. So they have to make sure you meet their criteria. That's another thing people forget. This isn't just point. I have the money and I want it. You have to be a match. You have to be conducive to the rest of the franchise network. So the best advice is always get in touch with somebody here at Franchise Empire who can help guide you, or the broker of your choice, if not us. Although wink, wink, it should be us. But there's a lot of moving parts to it. So People who try to do it on their own without that experience end up frustrated.
Well, yeah, yes, 100%. Guys, if you, I took away the little call to action thing. Let's see, here we go. If you're interested in this resale, you could go to franchiseempire.com/resales to inquire, and we'd be able to get you the details and connect you with the seller. Also, we have a list of 100 other resales in our inventory across the U.S. and Canada. So, look, at the end of the day, like it may sound like we're being critical of resales. Like resales can be great opportunities, and for a lot of people, it's a great fit because you are stepping into something that has momentum already. You're already generating revenue. The train's already moving. I think it takes someone who's a little bit more experienced in leadership, not necessarily owning and operating business, but at least leadership managing people overall. I do want to hit on this guy's comment real quick, and then we'll jump to guys. What's up next is talking about Wingstop, how much money they make, and what they cost to get open. But this was this guy's comment, Mr. Jawed. Resales don't make money. That's why they sell the company. There is no sales. What's your take on that, Mark?
I'm glad you let me speak to this one because I had a resale that I sold for a lot of money. And the guys who bought it did really well because they bought a really good business. And us who sold it did really well because we got a really high price point for it. So could not disagree more with Mr. Hakimi that resales don't make, his comment that resales don't make money. Maybe most don't, but ours certainly did. And I've seen many, Tarek, you and I see them all the time. There's a lot of really excellent resales out there. And the people who end up with them are the smarter people who go about it correctly. So I appreciate the feedback, Mr. Hakimi. I just don't agree with you on that.
Yep. Yeah, same thing. I mean, the reality is, gosh, what was the phrase that Chris used when we did a recording? He said did he say dogs and diamonds? Is that what he said?
I don't remember.
He
sounds
said
like something he could have said, and I just don't remember the context of the comment. So.
Oh man, I all right. I'm gonna have to ask Chris what was it, because when he said it, I was like, oh, I love it. But the concept is, he basically, what Chris on our team was saying is that you got resales that are turnaround opportunities that aren't making money, and you got diamonds. You got ones that are great that the owners are retiring, or they built a successful business and they want to move on to the next thing. I mean, I don't understand why. I get it. Actually, I do understand why people are skeptical, because I'm a born skeptic as well on most things. But I want you to think about it in this terms of reality. People that work in a corporate job, let's say they decide, I want to make a change. They get to switch companies. And they get to make a change after being successful and making money in their role. Why would an entrepreneur not be able to do the same thing? Why would an entrepreneur not be able to build a successful company for 5 or 7 years or whatever it is and go, we made money. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm going to sell it. How does that create skepticism on they're selling it because it doesn't make money?
Exactly what we did, Tarek. It's exactly what we did. We operated the hell out of the business and then sold it. It was part of our business plan. It was part of our exit strategy. And I would add another point there that, again, a lot of times the people we get just don't have that level of sophistication on this. There are different resales. There are resales that are franchise resales, and then there are private companies that are resales that we don't get involved with. And I do believe the cynicism is true because a lot of people sell really crappy businesses. They don't fully disclose everything. And people that aren't that smart about this, don't have experience, sometimes make bad decisions. That's all true. But franchise resales are a little different animal because, again, you've got to be approved by the franchisor, and there's a set guideline of operations that you're following. So not every resale is created the same. I think it's good to be skeptical. It's just not necessarily fair to throw the baby out with the bathwater and assume all resales are bad.
Yeah, valid point. In terms of restaurant franchises only profit 5 to 10%, that's restaurants in general. That's
restaurants in general. And Mr. Hakimi, I agree with you on that one. That one I'll agree with you on. That's the sweet spot for well-run restaurants, but poorly run restaurants lose a lot of money as well. So if you're doing 5 or 10% in the restaurant business, you're doing a really heck of a job. And I was proud to say that that's where we were. We were at 10% operating profit by each of our 14 restaurants because we were maniacal about it. We were fastidious about everything that we did, and we were accountable to ourselves. So again, it's not really rocket science to be good in business. It's just dogged determination and hard work.
Boom. Well said. New franchise owner. Let's go. That show used to be, I can't believe I just, How I Met Your Mother. That was a really funny show. I don't think they put out any new episodes. So congratulating. Do you want to walk through this? Because I know that you talk to the team every day about the clients that they're working with.
Sure, I did. I think this was our colleague Laura's candidates, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know them specifically, but I remember the story. So they owned. Gordon and Carole were Papa John franchise owners. So again, when we get people who are franchise owners in a prior brand, it's really it's very encouraging for us because they get it. Right? we can start with chapter 10 instead of chapter 1 with them. But they were ready to grow again, but they couldn't find territory to grow their Papa John's business. You hear that all the time, which is why we advocate, wink, wink, buy more territory when you start so you don't have that problem. But so speak, they couldn't get it. So it was the territory was limited. They didn't want to wait around. So they just started looking at some other opportunities in the service space, but they ran into roadblocks there, responses, unclear information, no real support. They were trying to do this on their own. My guess is that they saw one of Tarek's amazing quality contented videos and said, there's people out there that can help us. Even though we're experienced franchise owners, we don't know everything about finding them. So they came into Franchise Empire. Our colleague Laura was the broker who worked with them. So now that they made it clear what they were looking for, they were looking for low overhead, easy to run operations, room to scale. They dove into our process to evaluate high-performing service-based businesses that align with their goals. They spent a lot of time looking at different brands. And fortunately for everybody, we found something for them that was quite interesting. And if I'm not mistaken, they've signed on and they are now running their business with us, right? I can't remember how it wasn't that long ago though, right? That they found,
I think around a month,
yeah,
maybe.
I think they're relatively new and they're still running their other business. So this is a great testimonial, I think, if I could plug Franchise Empire, Tarek, which I'm going to. That these are experienced franchise owners. They got locked out of their brand. They wanted something else. They tried to find it on their own. They were very frustrated. They wasted a lot of time. They came to us, and I want to say that within 4 months from meeting us, they were in their own franchise. Couldn't be happier. And if I'm not mistaken, they gave Laura a 10-star review for the work she did. So everybody was happy. Those are the stories we love.
Yeah, fantastic. Super exciting. That's why we do this, guys, because we're just excited on helping individuals like you achieve your goals. So franchising's not for everyone. We are not in the business of selling franchises. We are in the business of, if you're interested in franchises, we're happy to show you ones that align with your specific criteria and goals. If you want to buy it, great. If you don't want to buy it, that's fine too.
Make that point. I had a candidate just this morning, and they started out by saying, like, "What are you guys selling?" I said, "We don't sell anything." And I walked them through exactly what you said. And I said, "Listen, if it could be that we tell you that we don't think franchising is for you." And they never heard that before. They just thought we were going to be salespeople and trying to sell them anything and everything. And I said, if it's not for you, then that's clear. And they were like, they didn't know what to say. I think at the end of the day, they appreciate it because what we're doing, if it's not for you, it's equivocal to being a poker player, right? If you got a crappy hand in poker, but you go all in, once you go all in, you're committed. If you decide to fold your hand and not go in this time, at least you keep your money. So we protect a lot of people's nest eggs by helping them not make the wrong decision for them.
Yeah, well said. All right, franchise of the week that we're breaking down. So if you're unfamiliar with this series, every week what we've been doing is breaking down the largest 500 franchises in the U.S. at least, and diving into their businesses. How'd they get started? How much money do they make? How much do they cost to get open? All of the things that you sit there wondering when you're eating at places or driving by them, we answer those questions. So let's dive into some of that. So we're going to talk about good old Wingstop, and then Jawed, we'll come back to you and answer that other question that you have later on. Mark, I've never actually eaten at a Wingstop. Have you?
I gotta be honest, I haven't.
Okay, me either.
I haven't since my wife and I got married a few years ago. She doesn't like chicken with bones, so we don't go. And
so you buy a lot of chicken breast.
When I'm out without her, I have other things to do than go find a chicken with a bone in it. So I haven't gone. Long-winded story, but no, I haven't. But I hear it's awesome.
Oh, that's funny. Oh man. All right. Well, Wingstop got its start in 1994 in Garland, Texas, founded by Mr. Antonio and Bernadette. What set it apart wasn't just the chicken wings, it was the theme. They were designed with a retro aviation style, with aircraft memorabilia, typing the idea of wings to both flight and food. In 2002, the brand had already served over 2 million wings. Proof that their concept wasn't a fad. And let's see, in 2010, they went international with its first location in Mexico. And by 2022, they were in 9 different countries. I wish we had a little bit more meat and potatoes there on the exact year that they started franchising and so on and so forth. But that wets our whistle. And so what some of you might be familiar with, if you know Rick Ross and the song "Every Day I'm Hustling," Rick Ross became a franchisee with Wingstop, and he has over 25 locations that I believe his family runs and oversees operating for him. Clearly, he's not, in there operating his brand, but he's able to use his influence, of course, to drive sales and traffic, which is pretty cool. And so Wingstop has 21 consecutive years. 21 consecutive years of positive same-store sales growth in the U.S. What's your take on that? Is that an easy feat?
God, no. Especially if those 21 years consider the last 5 with COVID and everything else, that would be amazing. So I don't know what 21 years they're talking about, but same-store growth is the most important aspect of growing a restaurant franchise. If you start getting sales that are the same or lower, it's a tough boat to turn sometimes. So I would say whatever they're doing, 21 consecutive years of same-store growth, almost unheard of.
Yeah, that's quite impressive.
Yep.
So that's Wingstop, guys. Let's talk about some of the numbers here. They have 2,500 locations worldwide. The initial investment is between $298,000 to just over $1 million. So that would put the median at what is that, 650? Because that would basically be like 1.3.
Yep.
Yeah, divided by 2. So the median cost to get open, $650,000. Franchise fee is pretty low at $25,000. 6% of gross sales royalty, which is pretty common, and 5.5% marketing fee. Again, you won't see that sort of marketing fee with service brands and most of the brands that we work with our clients. But for the large food franchise brands that run commercials and are advertising anywhere and everywhere, you'll see really significant marketing fees like that. What were yours at Five Guys? They don't do commercials or big advertising.
Five Guys was a really unique concept. They didn't spend a dollar on outward marketing of any kind. Wow. And that's because their founders believed they didn't need to. And I'll tell you what, we pushed back, but they were right. What they did is they relied on food critics to come in and give positive reviews. And what they did, we did have a marketing fee attached to our franchise, but our money went into a secret shopper fund. The owners of Five Guys believe that the food critics will give us the positive reviews and our crew will execute with excellence and make our customers come back. So all of our marketing fee as a franchise owner went into a pool the franchisor matched it, and each store would be secret shopped twice a week, once during lunch, once to dinner. And if that secret shop team scored 100 on that particular shop, every single person that was on that shift would share that bonus, and that bonus was based on the volume of the store. So Five Guys was very unique and have stayed that way, even though we're long gone. It's amazing. They do not spend money on ads. They do not spend money on outward marketing, and they're very successful. So tough to argue with the success of their business. But you're absolutely right. You know, if you see Wingstop, if you're watching your favorite football team on a Sunday and you see Wingstop's ad come on, that's a cool $1 million that they just spent for that 30-second ad. It's got to come from somewhere.
Yeah. What's interesting, I was just watching a video about Chipotle, and it was actually about the rise and fall. It was a little bit dramatic because Chipotle still does billions of dollars of revenue. Yeah. But I guess their same store sales are down like 5-6% year over year. And but a similar story with Chipotle. The first 10 years, they didn't spend. I think they said their total budget they spent was like 1% on like marketing and advertising. And I remember going to Chipotle when I was in high school, and the line was always like a super long line. It moved quick, but the line was always would wrap around like an L around the seats, and it's just because the quality that what they were doing was so different than other places. And I think Five Guys was an innovator there too, right? Like using the fresh beef. Okay, Wendy's uses fresh beef, but different experience. You can eat as many peanuts as you want. Like no one was doing that, right?
No, and Five Guys also never allowed us as franchise owners to publish the grand opening date.
What? Why?
You didn't have to, because again, this was in the first several years we were operating. It ultimately changed because saturation kicked in, but they didn't, because they said if you announce a date and then for whatever reason you have to change that date, you disappointed a lot of people. But that was only one of the reasons. The other reason was people would know you're building a Five Guys. Word gets around in the community, and people know. They come by, they check in and see, what's going on. And I think for the first 7 or 8 stores, I'd have to go back and check, but we were responsible, okay, on the night before we opened officially, and we didn't announce the opening. We would sometimes do a private opening for like friends and family. We'd let them come in and we would announce that, but we wouldn't springboard that into when we're opening officially. We had to actually hire a police detail because there were people who slept outside. Kidding you not, they slept outside to be first in line. So when we opened at 11 o'clock, they'd be to get a first hamburger. I don't know why you would ever sleep outside for a hamburger, but it did. So kind of cool how your story went. But no, they were fun. It was just a fad. And I would come in, I remember, because we'd be opening, and then I would see literally 35 or 40 people in sleeping bags on the sidewalk. And I'm like, whoa, this is unbelievable. And we certainly benefited from it because they all came in and bought lots of hamburgers. So those were the days. Those were good times.
That is hilarious. Yeah. You got me when you said, I don't know why you would ever sleep outside for a hamburger.
I just don't know. But again, this is when we opened up our first few. It was such a fad when 5 franchise operators all had territories and were opening up, and they went from 2 or 3 in the state to 30 or 40. It wasn't the grand openings lost some of the luster, obviously, as time went on. Not coincidentally, it tied in very strongly to when we got out of that business, when it wasn't as exciting for people anymore, and all those double-digit margins were gone. So were we.
Yeah. Well, if you guys just joined, you might be confused and think we're talking about Five Guys.
Yeah,
we're actually talking about Wingstop.
Sorry about that.
No, we went on a great detour that I thought at least it was entertaining for me. Sure. In terms of Wingstop's financial numbers, let's dig into it. I got to read through it a little bit. Okay, so you can see here. Let's see if I can get the little marker up. Yes. Okay. You can see here that we don't want to do yellow. We want to do... Everything's moving a little bit slow for some reason. How do I delete the... Thank you. My internet's supposed to move quicker than that. Let's see. Let's make it... All right, 2.13 million is the average net sales. Typically, net sales doesn't include sales tax, guys, because a lot of localities collect sales tax. So often, our franchisor define net sales as after discounts and after taxes included.
Yes.
So those are basically the main numbers. That's the average. The lowest performing location did $541,000 in sales. The highest performing location did $5.6 million in sales. So if you say, wow, I could see why Wingstop's so popular. So 2-to-1 sales to investment ratio, even the high end mark of the startup cost align with a 2-to-1 average sales.
Yeah. Before you showed this, first time I'm seeing it, I would have not guessed that the average unit volume was 2.1 million. So I thought the same thing. And now I'm looking at it, I'm like, wow, if they're doing 2.1 million, that in itself is noteworthy for a QSR business. That's what this is. It's a QSR business. Five Guys was averaging 1.1 million per unit volume, and that was several years ago, but this is twice that. Wow. That's all I could say. Wow. That's a big number.
Yeah. I think part of what can contribute to it, well, obviously they were doing a great job running the brand. Yeah. They're advertising, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But I think I wonder if they serve alcohol. I don't know. I'd have to check, but that would help. That would help.
That certainly would help. That certainly would help the numbers, no doubt about it.
I don't think they serve liquor, but if they serve wine and beer,
same thing.
Yeah. All right, boom. So that's Wingstop, y'all. Last but not least, and by the way, if you're thinking, hey, I don't want to own a Wingstop, sounds cool, I'll eat there, but I'm really interested in learning more about non-food franchises, and I'd love to know what's available in my area and if it's a good fit. Fantastic. You can go to franchiseempire.com/check territory, and you'll be able to schedule a free call with our team. They'll be able to develop a criteria with you and then check to see what franchise brands are available in your area. It's completely free to do that. Zero to Profitable Franchise Podcast, our most recent episodes, which you can watch on YouTube or listen to on your favorite podcast platform, is number one, how to find the 1% of franchises that actually win. So this was a great roundtable with me, Mark, and Chris. Chris is a broker on our team, and we talk about just that. So I suggest you go watch it. We've been getting really positive feedback, a lot of positive feedback on the content that we've made together on that roundtable. So I think you guys will enjoy it and hearing just the different perspectives. And then number two is Papa John's. So is it worth the $850,000 investment? That's a good question. I answer that in that video. If you go watch it on the Franchise Empire YouTube channel, again, we have the audio version as well, if you want to check that out. So that's it for the newsletter today. Mark, any closing words of wisdom?
No, just the one comment I didn't make when we're looking at Wingstop, or you were just walking through the last one, is most people who do invest in these QSR food restaurant businesses are not looking at one location. They're looking at building out a scalable, long-term, multi-unit deal. Just wanted to throw that in there because, again, I think it's a lot of work if you're only going to build one location because the margins are low. I don't think you'll be happy with that investment.
Yeah, agree. Joed had thrown in this question: are there any franchises in Canada where you can be a semi-passive owner or absentee?
Well, again, Mr. Hakimi, this is what I would say. This is my own opinion. Tark might feel differently, but I hate the word passive or absentee in a business anyway, because it's hard to imagine you're going to invest a lot of money, maybe your life savings in a business, and then be passive. That being said, yes, there are some businesses that require less involvement of owners. We'd be happy to discuss those with you. But even the ones that require less ownership, I always say you get out of it what you put into a business. So it's a slippery slope with absentee or passive ownership. Lots of the brands that we work with will not award territories unless they know the owner's involved full time, or has a designate that may have an equity opportunity to run that business. So the answer is yes, with an asterisk. Love to chat with you more about it if you'd like.
Boom. I think Mark said it as good as it could have been said, ladies and gentlemen. All right, guys. Well, we'll see you the next time we do this live stream on Monday. Have a good one. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you. Bye-bye.